Skepsis, The Poetic Insights of a Critical Mind. Written by Abu al-Ala al-Mari. Narrated by Honoka Lewis. Skepsis, The Poetic Insights of a Critical Mind. Written by David Christopher Lane. Narrated by Honoka Lewis. In our postmodern age, with all things socially mediated, we often forget those wise sages of years past who had deeper insights about how to live life than we might have imagined. We may consider ourselves more educated and more skeptically resistant to those myths that trapped our ancestors centuries ago. But that is not always the case. For example, it may come as a jolt to learn that Abu al-Ala al-Mari, a renowned Arabic poet, who lived between 973 and 1057 CE, blind since the age of 4, was a keen skeptic who rejected religious dogmatism and who advocated veganism. Surprisingly, he gained fame and respect during his lifetime. Abu al-Ala al-Mari lived an austere life, rejected violence of any kind, and was equally critical of all religions which succumb to blind faith. Although a lifelong pessimist, he was an antinatalist. Abu al-Ala al-Mari was a strong voice for social justice and for clear and rational thought. This book is but a brief glimpse of Abu al-Ala al-Mari's remarkable and prescient poetry, which shares much in common with that other remarkable scientist-poet, Omar Khayyam, who was born just decades later. Both saw through the pretense of religious authorities who claimed to know more than they actually did. As Khayyam famously opined in Edward Fitzgerald's celebrated rendition of his Rubaiyat, "Myself, when young, did eagerly frequent doctor and saint, and heard great argument about it and about, but evermore came out by the same door as I went." Abu al-Ala al-Mari even went farther in his skepticism when he severely pointed out the flaws of religionists who suppose the statements of the prophets to be true. They are all fabrications. Men lived comfortably till they came and spoiled life. The sacred books are only such a set of idle tales as any age could have and indeed did actually produce. While such views generated controversy during his lifetime, they are still considered heretical in the 21st century among certain fundamentalists, who have gone so far as to ban his books and even desecrate his statue. He was a rationalist in an irrational world, who saw through the smoke and mirrors show of preachers who preyed on naive and innocent believers. As Abu al-Ala al-Mari so pithily wrote a millennium ago, "Don't believe what you're told, unless your mind confirms its truth. Palm trunks lofty as clouds, stay wood." In a world of ever-changing fake news, it is to our advantage to follow the wise counsel of this remarkable Arabic poet, who presaged our current age and how best to rely on logic and reason in the midst of nonsense. Now this religion happens to prevail, until by that religion overthrown, because men dare not live with men alone, but always within another fairy tale. The following text contains pertinent excerpts from Henry Bearline's 1909 translation of the Diwan of Abu al-Ala, as well as judicious quotes from Abu al-Ala al-Mari's other writings, such as Risalat ul-Ghufran and Sakt al-Zand. Abandon worship in the mosque and shrink from idle prayer, from sacrificial sheep, for destiny will bring the bowl of sleep or bowl of tribulation you shall drink. The scarlet eyes of morning are pursued by night, who growls along the narrow lane But as they crash upon our world, the twain devour us, and are strengthened for the feud. Vain your dreams of marvelous enterprise, vainly you sail among uncharted spaces, vainly seek, harbour in this world of faces, if it has been determined otherwise. Behold, my friends, there is reserved for me the splendour of our traffic with the sky. You pay your court to Saturn, whereas I am slain by one far mightier than he. You that must travel with a weary load along this darkling labyrinth street, have men with torches at your head and feet, if you would pass the dangers of the road. So shall you find all armour incomplete, and open to the whips of circumstance. That, so shall you be girdled of mischance, till you be folded in the winding sheet. Have conversation with the wind that goes bearing a pack of loveliness and pain, the golden exaltation of the grain, and the last sacred whisper of the rose. But if in some enchanted garden bloom the rose imperial that will not fade, ah, shall I go with desecrating spade, and underneath her glories build a tomb? Shall I that am as dust, upon the plain, think with unloosened hurricanes to fight? Or shall I that was ravaged from the night fall on the bosom of the night again? Endure, and if you rashly would unfold that manuscript whereon our lives are traced, recall the stream which carols through the waste, and in the dark is rich with alien gold. Myself did linger by the ragged beach, whereat wave after wave did rise and curl, and as they fell, I saw them hurl a message far more eloquent than speech. We that sing with song our pilgrimage beguile, with purple islands which a sunset bore, we, sunk upon the sacrilegious shore, may parley with oblivion. I would not have you keep, nor idly flaunt, what may be gathered from the gracious land, but I would have you sow, with sleepless hand, the virtues that balance your account. The days are dressing all of us in white, for him who will suspend us in a row, but for the sun there is no death. I know the centuries are morsels of the night. A deed magnanimous, a noble thought, are as the music singing thro' the years, when surely time the tyrant domineers against the lute where out of it was wrought. Now to the master of the world resign whatever touches you, what is prepared, for many sons of wisdom are ensnared, and many fools in happiness recline. Long have I tarried where the waters roll from undeciphered caverns of the main, and I have searched in vain, where I could drown the sorrows of my soul. If I have harboured love within my breast, 'twas for my comrades of the dusty day, who with me watched the loitering stars at play, who bore the burden of the same unrest. For once the witcheries a maiden flung, then afterwards I knew she was the bride of death, and as he came, so tender-eyed, I rebuked him roundly, being young. Yet if all things that vanish in their noon are part of the same some eternal scheme, of what the nightingale may chance to dream, or what the lotus murmurs to the moon, have I not heard sagacious ones repeat an irresistibly grim argument, that we, for all our blustering content, are as the silent shadows at our feet? Ay, when the torch is low, and we prepare beyond the notes of reveille to pass, old silence will keep watch upon the grass, the solemn shadows will assemble there. No sultan at his pleasure shall erect a dwelling less obedient to decay than I, whom all the mysteries obey, build with the twilight for an architect. Dark leans to dark, the passions of a man are twined about all transitory things. For verily the child of wisdom clings more unto dreamland than Arabistan. Death leans to death, nor shall your vigilance prevent him from whate'er he would possess, nor, brother, shall unfilial peevishness prevent you from the grand inheritance. Farewell, my soul, bird in the narrow jail, who cannot sing. The door is opened. Fly! Ah, soon you stop, and looking down you cry, the saddest song of all, poor nightingale. Our fortune is like mariners to float amid the perils of dim waterways. Shall then our seamanship have aught of praise, if the great anchor drags behind the boat? Ah, let the burial of yesterday be ruthlessly decreed, and, if you will refuse the mourner's reed, and, if you will, plant cypress in the way. As little shall it serve you in the fight, if you remonstrate with the storming seas, as if you querulously sigh to these of some imagined haven of delight. Steed of my soul, when you and I were young, we lived to cleave as arrows through the night. Now there is ta'en from me the last of light, and whereso I gaze, a veil is hung. No longer as a wreck shall I be hurled, where beacons lure the fascinated helm, for I have been admitted to the realm of darkness that encompasses the world. Man has been thought superior to the swarm of ruminating cows, of witless foals who, crouching when the voice of thunder rolls, are banqueted upon a thunderstorm. But shall the fearing eyes of humankind have peeped beyond the curtain and excel the boldness of a wandering gazelle or a bird imprisoned in the wind? Ah, never may we hope to win release before we that unripeness overthrow. So must the corn in agitation grow before the sickle sings the songs of peace. Lo, there are many ways and many traps and many guides, and which of them is Lord? For verily Mahomet has the sword, and he may have the truth, perhaps. Now this religion happens to prevail, until by that religion overthrown, because men dare not live with men alone, but always with another fairy tale. Religion is a charming girl, I say, but over this poor threshold will not pass, for I may not unveil her, and alas, the bridal gift I cannot afford to pay. I have imagined that our welfare is required to rise triumphant from defeat, and so the musk, which as the more you beat, gives ever more delightful fragrances. For as a gate of sorrow, land unbars, the region of unfaltering delight, so may you gather from the fields of night that harvest of diviner thought, the stars. Send into banishment whatever blows. Cross the waves of your tempestuous heart. Let every wish save Allah's wish depart, and you will have ineffable repose. My faith, it is that all wanton pact of living shall be hush, poor heart withdrawn, as even to the camel comes a dawn, without a burden for his wounded back. If there should be some truth in what they teach of unrelenting Munkar and Nakir, before whose throne all buried men appear, then give me to the vultures, I beseech. Some yellow sand all hunger shall assuage, and for my thirst no cloud have need to roll. And the drooping bird which is my soul no longer shall be prisoned in the cage. Life is a flame that flickers in the wind, a bird that crouches in the fowler's net, nor may between her flutterings forget that hour the dreams of youth were unconfined. There was a time when I was fain to guess the riddles of our life, when I would soar against the cruel secrets of the door, so that I fell to the deeper loneliness. One is behind the draperies of life, one who will tear these tanglements away. No dark assassin, for the dawn of day, leaps out, as leapeth laughter from the knife. One is behind the draperies of life, one who will tear those tanglements away. No dark assassin for the dawn of day leaps out as leapeth laughter from the knife. Astrologers, give ear to what they say. The stars be words, they float on heaven's breath, and faithful reveal the days of death, and surely will reveal that longer day. I shook the trees of knowledge. Ah, the fruit was fair upon the bleakness of the soil. I filled 100 vessels with my spoil, and then I rested from the grand pursuit. Alas, I took me servants. I was proud of prose, and of the neat, the cunning rhyme, but all their inclination was the crime of scattering my treasure to the crowd. And yet this very seed I throw may rise aloft a brother of the bird, uncaring of his melodies are heard. Or shall I not hear anything below? The glazier out of sounding Erzerum frequented us, and softly would conspire upon our broken glass with blue-red fire, as one might lift a pale thing from the tomb. He was the glazier out of Erzerum, whose wizardry would make the children cry. There will be no such wizardry when I am broken by the chariot wheels of doom. The chariot wheels of doom, now hear them roll across the desert and the noisy mart, across the silent places of your heart. Smile on the driver, you will not cajole. I never look upon the placid pane, I never look upon the placid plain, but I must think of those who lived before, and gave their quantities of sweat and gore, and went and will not travel back again. Ay, verily, the fields of blandishment, where shepherds meditate upon their cattle, those are the direst of the fields of battle. For in the victor's train there is no tent. Where are the doctors who were nobly fired, and loved their toil because we ventured not, who spent their lives in searching for the spot, to which the generations have retired? Great is your soul, these are the words they preach. It passes from your framework to the frame of others, and upon this road of shame turns purer and more pure. Oh, let them teach. Oh, let them teach. I look on men as I would look on trees that may be writing in the purple dome romantic lines of black, and are not at home, where lie the little garden hostelries. Live well. Be wary of this life, I say. Do not overload yourself with righteousness. Behold, the sword we polish in excess, we gradually polish it away. God, who created metal, is the same. Who will devour it, as the warriors ride, with iron horses and with iron pride? Come, let us laugh into the merry flame. But for the grandest flame our God prepares, the breast of man, which is the grandest urn. Yet, is that flame so powerless to burn? Those butterflies, the swarm of little cares? And if you find a solitary sage, who teaches what is truth, then you find the Lord of men, the guardian of the wind, the victor of all armies and of age. See that procession passing down the street, the black and white procession of the days. Far better dance along and bawl your praise than if you follow with unwilling feet. But in the noisy ranks you will forget. What is the flag? O comrade, fall aside, and think a little moment of the pride of yonder sun. Think of the twilight's net. The songs we fashion from our new delight are echoes. When the first of men sang out, he shuddered. hearing not alone the shout of hills, but of peoples in the night. And all the marvels that our eyes behold are pictures. There has happened some event for each of them, and this they represent. Our lives are like a tale that has been told. There is a palace, and the ruined wall divides the sand, a very home of tears, and where love whispered of 1,000 years, the silken-footed caterpillars crawl, and where the prince commanded, now the shriek of wind is flying, through the court of state, here it proclaims, there dwelt a potentate, who could not hear the sobbing of the weak. Beneath our palaces the cornerstone is quaking. What of noble we possess, in love our courage, in tenderness, can rise from our infirmities alone? We suffer, that we know, and that is all our knowledge. If we recklessly should strain to sweep aside the solid rocks of pain, then would the domes of love and courage fall. But there is one who trembles at the touch of sorrow, less than all of you, for he has got the care of no big treasury, and with that regard to wits, not overmuch. I think our world is not a place of rest, but where a man may take his little ease, until the landlord, whom he never sees, gives that apartment to another guest. Say that you come to life as 'twere a feast, prepared to pay whatever is the bill of death or tears, or surely, friend, you wilt not shrink at death, which is among the least. Rise up against your troubles, cast away what is too great for mortal men to bear, but seize no foolish arms against the share which you, the piteous mortal, have to pay. Be gracious to the king. You cannot feign that nobody was tyrant, that the sword of justice always gave the just award. Before these, Gassanites began to reign. You cultivate the ranks of golden grain. He cultivates the cavaliers. They go with him careering on some other foe, and your battalions will be staunch again. The good law and the bad law disappear before the flood of custom, or they float, and, like the wonderful Sa'abi coat, they captivate us for a little year. God pities him who pities. Pursue no longer, now the children of the wood. Or have you not, poor huntsman, understood that somebody is overtaking you? God is above. We never shall attain our liberty from hands that overshroud. Or can we shake aside this heavy cloud more than a slave can shake aside the chain? There is no God save Allah, that is true, nor is there any prophet save the mind of man, who wanders through the dark to find the paradise that is in me and you. The rolling, ever-rolling years of time are as a diwan of Arabic song. The poet, headstrong and supremely strong, refuses to repeat a single rhyme. An archer took an arrow in his hand, so fair he sent it singing to the sky, that he brought justice down from so high. He was an archer in the morning land. The man who shot his arrow from the west made empty roads of air. Yet have I thought our life was happier, until we brought this cold one of the skies to rule the nest. Run! Run! Follow, follow happiness, the maid whose laughter is the laughing waterfall. Run! Call to her, but if no maiden call, 'tis something to have loved the flying shade. You strut in piety, while you take that pilgrimage to Mecca. Now beware, for starving relatives befoul the air, and curse, O fool, the threshold you forsake. How man is made, he staggers at the voice, the little voice that leads you to the land of virtue. but on hearing the command to lead a giant army, will rejoice. Behold the cup whereon your slave has trod. That is what every cup is falling to, your slave. Remember that he lives by you, while in the form of him we bow to God. The lowliest of the people is the Lord, who knows not where each day to make his bed, whose crown is kept upon the royal head by that poor, naked minister, the sword. Which is the tyrant, say you? Well, 'tis he that has the vine leaf strown among his hair, and will deliver countries to the care of courtesans. But I am vague, you see. The dwellers of the city will oppress your days, the lion, a fight-thirsty fool, the fox who wears the robe of men that rule. So run with me towards the wilderness. Our wilderness will be the laughing land, where nuts are hung for us, where nodding peas are wild enough to press about our knees, and water fills the hollow of our hand. My village is the loneliness, and I am as the travellers through the Syrian sand, that for a moment, seeing the warning hand of one who breasted up the rock, their spy. Where is the valiance of the folk who sing these valiant stories of the world to come, which they describe forsooth as if it swum in air and anchored with a yard of string? Two merchantmen decided they would battle, to prove at last who sold the finest wares, and while Mahomet shrieked his call to prayers, the true Messiah waved his wooden rattle. Perchance the world is nothing, is a dream, and every noise the dreamland people say, we sedulously note, and we and they may be the shadows flung by what we seem. Zohair the poet sang of loveliness, which is the flight of things. Oh, meditate upon the sorrows of our earthly state, for what is lovely we may not possess. Hey-o! The splendid air is full of wings, and they will take us to the friend. Be wise, for if you navigate among the skies, you too may reach the subterranean kings. Now fear the rose, you travel to the gloom of which the roses sing and sing so fair, and but for them you'd have a certain share. In life your name be read upon the tomb. There is a tower of silence, and the bell moves up, another man is made to be. For certain years they move in company, but you, when fails your song, do fail as well. No sword will summon death, and he will stay, for neither helm nor shield his falling rod. We are the crooked alphabet of God, and he will read us ere he wipes away. How strange that we, perambulating dust, should be the vessels of eternal fire, that such unfading passion of desire should be within our fading bodies thrust. Deep in a silent chamber of the rose there was a fattened worm. He looked around, espied a relative, and spoke at him. It seems to me this world is very good. A most unlovely world, said Brother Worm, for all of us are piteous prisoners. And if, declared the first, your thought is true, and this a prison be, me likes it well. So well that I shall weave a song of praise and thankfulness, because the world was wrought for us, and with such providential care, my brother, I will shame you into singing. Then, cried the second, I shall raise a voice, and see what poor apologies are made. So they sang, these two, for many days, and while they sang, the rose was beautiful. But this affected not the songful ones, and evermore in beauty lived the rose. And when the worms were old and wiser too, they fell to silence and humility. A night of silence, 'twas the singing sea, and this our world of darkness, and the twain rolled on below the stars. They flung a chain around the silences which are in me. The shadows come, and they will come to bless their brother, and his dwelling and his fame, when I shall soil no more with any blame, or praise the silence I possess. Insight 1. They all err. Muslims, Jews, Christians, and Zoroastrians. Humanity follows two worldwide sects. 1. Man, intelligent, without religion. The second, religious, without intellect. Insights 2. O fools, awake! The rites you sacred hold are but a cheat contrived by men of old, who lusted after wealth, and gained their lust, and died in baseness, and their law is dust. Insights 3. Traditions come from the past, of high import if they be true, aye, but weak is the chain of those who warrant their truth. Consult thy reason, and let perdition take others all. Of all the conference, reason best will counsel and guide. A little doubt is better than total credulity. Insights 4. What is religion? A maid kept close, that no eye may view her. The price of her wedding gifts and dowry baffles the wooer. Of all the goodly doctrine that I from the pulpit heard, my heart has never accepted so much as a single word. Insights 5. The prophets, too, among us come to teach, are one with those who from the pulpit preach. They pray and slay and pass away, and yet our ills are the pebbles on the beach. Islam does not have a monopoly on truth. Veganism. You are diseased in understanding and religion. Come to me, that you may hear something of sound truth. Do not unjustly eat fish the water has given up, and do not desire as food the flesh of slaughtered animals, or the white milk of mothers, who intended its pure draught for their young, not noble ladies. And do not grieve the unsuspecting birds by taking eggs, for injustice is the worst of crimes. And spare their honey, which the bees get industriously from the flowers of fragrant plants, for they did not store it that it might belong to others, nor did they gather it for bounty and gifts. I washed my hands of all of this, and wish that I perceived my way before my hair went grey.